Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to the University of Redlands tonight to come listen to Mr. John Abdou. I just want to mention a couple people in the room. We have Keith Gissel. He is our athletic recruitment coordinator for the University of Redlands, and he's in the back. Say hi, Keith. He's here if anybody has any questions. And we have the pleasure of having Tom Whittemore here. He is the head water polo coach for the University of Redlands as well, and he's in the back. So if anybody has any questions or want to talk to Tom, he's here for questions as well. So I want to first get started and introduce Mr. John Abdou. He is the Chief High Performance Officer for USA Water Polo, and he is here tonight to talk to us about how colleges recruit student athletes. So I want to have a nice round of applause to welcome Mr. John Abdou.
Yeah, I probably won't use the microphone just because I don't know if I need it. First of all, just thank you, Kimberly, and thank you, Zaina, and thank you to all the families for kind of bringing us out here, or bringing me out here to do this. I do this quite often, and I'll tell you why I generally get to do this, but or how I got to be doing this at different times. But I was telling a few people earlier, a lot of times when I do this, it's not this nice. This is a really elite place to be, in the sense that we're on to talk about college recruiting on a college campus with the college coach of that sport that we're talking about here, with the sports recruiter of that admissions office here at the same time. Like, that's pretty unique. So I would say that you're very lucky. And so if you don't understand how lucky you are to have these kinds of resources around you, I'm just to remind you, right? I think it's really neat to have Tom and Keith here, and I think this is something that will be hopefully enlightening and educational and can be worth your time. Obviously, I don't have anything written down, right? So I know this very, very well. And one of the reasons why I feel like this started and why we do this and why we started giving these talks is for a couple of reasons. One is I coached college for about 10 years, which is about 30% of Tom Whittemore's career so far. And it's like, if you don't know, Tom is one of the longest tenured NCAA coaches in the country for water polo, period, if not the longest tenured at this point. Some people dropping off, right? So you might be the longest tenured. Yeah.
Close.
He's an absolute legend. He's a great resource for you guys to have. And part of the reason, again, I know this is I went through this process myself as a recruit for water polo, and then I did it as a coach on that level. And in fact, Tom, a long time ago, I remembered as I was driving over here, whoever your assistant was in the mid-90s called me every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock to try to get me to come here. So whoever your assistant was in the mid-90s, remind them that they did a great job. Maybe not good enough that I didn't come here. But it's really interesting to me when I went through this. You guys are, again, I feel like in a very fortunate place. When I went through this, I had to write my resume on a typewriter. Actually, I had to type up my resume on a typewriter, put it in the mail, and send it. I sent it to maybe 15 different coaches, and Tom was one of the ones who wrote me back. And so a few other coaches, but it was all really a very slow process. You know what a typewriter is? Have you ever seen it? Is there a museum nearby? It's a real typewriter. It says, like, literally click clock. We typed this in the living room with my dad helping me out. On this now, every single one of you, and we'll get to this in a second, can get to every single college coach in the country with typing your resume online in one of these questionnaires, and with the click of a button, almost every college coach in the country can have your resume and all your information. That's really easy, right? And that takes 15 minutes, right? As opposed to doing what it is, having paper stamps and go to the mail and all those things, okay? The other thing that reason I started doing this, in terms of like creating this into a talk, and I was just telling Coach back there, is when I first started recruiting for Bucknell University a little while back, I realized how little information is actually out here on this. Right? So I'm sitting here talking to families saying, hey, you should really come to Bucknell University, right? Like sitting there in their living room or getting them on the phone and saying, hey, I want you to do this, I want you to do that. And nobody knew what I was talking about. And I was like, well, how do you not know about, this or that or this process? And this information is really hard to get. And this information can be out there. If you Googled college recruiting, and maybe Keith can help you with this, right? You can there are all kinds of books and seminars and all these things will come up and, different things you could do, but it wouldn't be relevant to water polo. It wouldn't be specific to water polo or the kind of the world that we live in, which is unique in a small niche that we're all in. So this is where this started. So a friend of mine who's now the head coach at Brown University, at the time he was at MIT, we started putting all this stuff onto paper, we were handing out handouts, then the handout turned into a PowerPoint, and then that PowerPoint kind of started developing, and now I do this talk for anybody that asks me to, frankly, anybody that asks, and also the last 2 years I did it at the Junior Olympics. So maybe you guys were at the Junior Olympics and came to the talk during the expo, and we do it there. So we try to get this information out as much as possible because it's relevant. And as we started talking to everybody about this, probably the thing that was missing the most is this water polo angle. So actually, when I was in high school, my dad took me to a college recruiting talk on my I went to Temple City High School, just outside of Pasadena, and they filled up the cafeteria with every single athlete from football, baseball, basketball, right, water polo, so all of us. We got the cafeteria, and it cost us $75 to go to the talk, right? We each had to pay $75. We sat in there, my dad was with me, just like many of you guys, and I have parents here, and we walked out, and we felt like we didn't get any more information during that talk than we did before. And that was a problem, right? We're paying this money, and we're sitting down, we're talking, and they're telling me all about the basketball rules and the football rules, and that's just not relevant to water polo. So I imagine if you're here, you're serious about water polo, right? This is your sport, this is what you do, you all have frizzy chlorine down here, right? So you just got out of the pool a few minutes ago, right? I can tell. Your eyes are a little bloodshot. So you're water polo players, you're water polo families, so this is specific to water polo, and us getting into that water polo discussion. Hopefully that makes sense, and that's where I'm coming from. I just want to be here to help. To be honest with you, I like doing this because I want to make sure that all of you guys play in college. So I do have a hat that I wear for USA Water Polo in the sense of being on the performance side of USA Water Polo, but I also kind of have this passion that I just want to see everybody who does love water polo play in college, because there's a college for every one of you out there. Really, no matter what your level of play is, there's a place that really wants you to go play. It may not be the place you're thinking of at this very moment, but there's a place for you to go play water polo, and that's something that we can figure out as we keep going through this. Like, you got to think of that, start opening up your options as we talk about it, and that's really where I start talking about this in the sense of perspective. It's 100% your responsibility to educate yourself in this process. It's nobody else's responsibility, right? So you are responsible. You yourself. I'm not looking at your parents. I'm looking at you guys. You are the ones who are to educate yourself in this process and begin to do your research. And so that starts there. And when I put in parentheses, others may lead you astray, because college is such a passionate thing in America. So you may be sitting with someone who, next to a USC fan, who's like, UCLA is terrible, right? Only, or somebody walks around with a t-shirt that says, my maid went to UCLA, Those exist, right? I mean, that's like, this is a weird thing for me, right? It's a strange thing for me, especially for my parents. I wasn't born in America. I was born in Egypt. My parents came in from Egypt, so the colleges aren't really, there's like 2 colleges in the whole country that were wild. So there's no like rivalries, right? So no, it's not like someone sitting around saying Ohio State is terrible and Michigan State is great, or all these different things. There's all kinds of things. So you start listening to just kind of things that are out there, it's just going to mess with your head and not really give you true information, right? And particularly on that sometimes it'll be like Division 1 versus Division 3. Division 3 is not as good as Division 1, or Division 2 is this, or all that is nonsense. So we're going to kind of debunk all that tonight, particularly if I'm talking at a D3 school. And I'm very much a supporter of D3 athletics, and I'll be the first person to say that, because especially in our sport, I'm skipping ahead in this process. Obviously, if I'm not following a script, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit, but you have to know that for guys, we're at and Coach, correct me if I'm wrong here, we are about 42 or 43 men's varsity programs in America. Maybe we're getting closer to 48, that's hoping with some of these new additions, right? 46. All right, so now we're like at 46, right? So we have 46. That includes divisions 1, 2, and 3 together, right? So all divisions equal 46. So if you were only to play the schools in your division, it would get pretty boring, right? So that means if you play college water polo, period, talking on the men's side. On the women's side, we're getting closer to 60, 61, 62. I should know this. I'm also the director of the Coach Association, of the College Coach Association. And it changes every day, right? It changes every day, which is good because we're adding programs. But that means if you go to Redlands, you go to Occidental, right? You go to Pomona, you're going to play all the Division I schools because you have no choice. Otherwise, you're going to play the same 4 teams over and over, right? And if you're at Division I at a UCLA or Bucknell or Harvard or whatever, you're going to have to diversify your schedule of players. So everybody plays everybody, and our national championship at the moment includes Divisions 2, 3, and 1 all in one national championship. So you're gonna play each other. So for someone to tell me I'm gonna go to this D3 school and it's gonna be this isolated thing and I'm never gonna compete at a high level is not right. Right? It's not right. All the teams compete against each other. They all compete against high level. And I know this. Not only did I coach at Bucknell, I coached at UC Santa Barbara, And when I was at UC Santa Barbara coaching the men there, we had some really, really close games with Division III schools. There wasn't like some massive gap, right? We weren't just like blowing everybody out, right? And Coach can attest this as we go along. So again, the reason I say this is because it's really important. I'm not going to say everything that you really like tonight, right? There's going to be some reality checks in this, but you have to educate yourself and not listen to all the noise and the rumors outside. The second thing is what I talked about before, keep an open mind. Because you might be sitting here and telling me, I had this dream school, this is all I had, this is where I'm going. You have to keep an open mind in this process, right? And that includes Division 1, 2, 3, East Coast, West Coast, Northern California, Southern California. Whatever the case is, private school, public school, keep an open mind. Believe me, the more open your mind is in this process, the more options you're going to have. And the more options you have, the way more fun this process is. Because otherwise it's a stressful process that you're starting to get yourself into. But the more options you have, and like I said in the beginning, there's a school that really wants you to go there. No matter your level of play, there's a school that really wants you. Then this process can become fun and exciting and something to really think about. And the last thing I want to say is be proactive. And just in terms of putting your mind in the right place before I get into information, really be proactive. Again, it's your responsibility. I started this talk about how I wrote my resume on the typewriter and had to send it myself. No one's knocking on my door. At that time, I was, 6'3", 220 pounds, right? I could swim, right? Big guy. You would think 220. I'm still 220. But I did that. You would think, hey, all these coaches are going to call me all the time. It's going to be great. Nobody called me, right? Nobody called me, right? I coached the junior national team. Tom's coached pipeline teams for a long time with our national teams at different points, right? Even those athletes that are on the youth team, even on the junior team, they're not getting calls all the time from college coaches. Some of the girls are. Some of the girls are because there's just the number of teams starts getting there, right? Now you have 60. But if you're not in the upper 1% of those athletes, right? You're not getting the love that maybe your friend on the soccer team does, or on the basketball team does, or the football team does. It's different. Water polo's gonna be, you have to be proactive. You have to sell yourself. So part of this is your own self-promotion of how you're gonna communicate yourself to get out there, right? And that happens for a lot of reasons, right? Right now, I've got college basketball. I love basketball too. I played basketball in high school, so it's a real sport of mine that I love to compare. So just turn on the TV. It's March Madness is starting, right? The conference tournaments are starting. Turn on the TV and watch the roster. Just look at the bench of a college basketball team. How many athletes are there and how many coaches are there? Do you know? There's 12 athletes, right? 12 athletes on college basketball. You know how many coaches they have? How many staff? Between 5 and 7, depending on the school. They have between 5. I went to UCLA USC basketball like a month ago. I went just so because a friend gave me a ticket. I went to watch. They introduced 8 staff members on the UCLA basketball team. I don't know how that's sensitively legal. You guys can tell me that. I don't know, 8 staff members that walk out. So what's that ratio? 8 staff members, 12 coaches. That's insane, right? It's insane. Just recently now, we're starting to get a few more water polo coaches, and Redlands is actually on the forefront of that, where Tom was gracious enough to split the programs and then bring in another head coach and have some more help and bring that in. But for the most part, for how many years, Tom, did you coach here? And it was you and 25 athletes on each side.
Not the first 26 of them.
26 years. Full-time assistant or part-time assistant?
We never had a full-time assistant. We have like graduate assistants that rotate through. So.
Right. So now, this is the best example. This is why it's great to have Coach here and be in the setting. This is a real-life example, and you just don't have to think I'm making this stuff up, right? Here's a head coach who had a men's team, a women's team, a part-time assistant who was in grad school, right? And at least 25 athletes on each side at any given time, maybe more, right? That he has to coach by himself. So how do you think he has time to make recruiting calls every night? You think he has time to write handwritten letters to be there? Does he make home visits every night, right? On this week, he's going to do his best he can. He does a great job with it, right? But now it's time for us to be realistic about this, right? So when your friend from the basketball team comes in and says, hey, I got 75 letters in the mail, right, from the 500 institutions that offer basketball across the country, as opposed to the 46, thank you, right, that offer water polo here, right? Just have to do the math. We have to be realistic about what there is. So that means you have to be proactive and sell yourself and get yourself out there. Hopefully, does that make sense, everybody? I hope that makes sense, right? It's your responsibility to recruit yourself and to put yourself out there. And sometimes we get those letters and we think twice. And I'm not saying this to disparage those programs, right? So at UCLA, they recently have 8 staff members to go with their 5 starting basketball players, 12 total on the team, right? Is that some of those people are the ones who are writing the emails for the head coach. They're the ones who are handwriting the letters. You might make all CIF, third team or second team, and you may get a handwritten letter from the UCLA coach. It's very common. because they took the list, right, and they wrote the handwritten letter. No, I have nothing against UCLA, I have nothing against what they're doing over there. But one of the things those schools get to do is that they get to have a department of graduate assistants and undergraduate people who will handwrite the letter for the coach, and then it comes to your man. And it's super exciting for you. And I'm not trying to get you to not be excited about that letter coming through. But what's the realistic notion that coach knows your name, saw you play, right, and is all about it. So just be open-minded, be proactive, and let's work hard together on this. And I'll try to be a little faster. So the types of water polo programs that are out there, right, we talked about this Division 1, 2, and 3. We don't see a large difference between these schools in sense of competitiveness, right? The difference is the difference between these schools. The way that I try to explain it is that at a Division I institution, that water polo is the number one thing. Water polo is going to be here, and school's going to be somewhere next to it or right under it, or there's going to be a hovering around what school what your priorities are with school, which priorities are with the sport. When you go to Division III school or Division I school that focuses more on academics, the academics is going to take a little more precedence over the water polo. Right? Hopefully I explained that properly, and Coach, you can jump in anytime as I say it. And one of the reasons I say that is because at Bucknell University, Harvard University, all these are Division I schools, right? And you can say it's Division I. The reality is they operate more like a Division III school. It really is a Division III mentality, because at a Division III school, as opposed to a Division I school, right, any of these things, we're talking about where academics are a precedent, university are a priority. You're going to get more time focusing not only just in the classroom and on your studies, but you're also going to get other opportunities. For example, one of the examples I like to give is studying abroad. Right? You go to a D3 school, you go to a Division I school that's not, in the Pac-12 or in the upper level, you may get the opportunity to study abroad. So if you have it in your head that, hey, I want to spend a semester in Barcelona, right, and study abroad, or I want to travel a little more, or maybe I want an internship in the summer, right? Those are the things that you should be thinking about. Hey, I really do want to spend some time exploring my career and doing other things. That's important, because I did both. I coached and played in all different these kinds of places, and at Bucknell, my athletes did get to study abroad. It was awesome, right? They had that opportunity. Then I coached at Santa Barbara as well, and we were training all summer. We were training all spring. And the athletes that did go abroad and did choose to that, they lost 10, 12, 13, 14 weeks of training, and now they're behind, right? Now they got to play catch up, and it's different. Coach, I talk a lot, so you can cut me off anytime.
I agree with everything you said.
Yeah.
And, I have to get my kind of plug in here a little bit.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you guys. See if you know what all these schools have in common. San Jose State, Concordia of Irvine, Fresno Pacific, McKendree, Fordham, Iona, Air Force, Loyola Marymount, UC Irvine, UC San Diego, Navy, Wagner, George Washington, and Mercyhurst. Does anybody have a great guess as to what all those collegiate men's water polo programs have in common? Everybody give up?
Say they were Division I, but I think UCSD is Division II.
So you're on the right track. All those schools are all Division I or Division II programs that lost a game to a Division III program in the fall of 2016. I'm not saying we're better, and those we're not. University of Maryland didn't win all those games. We won some of those games, not every single one. We didn't beat every single one of those people. But if you looked at schedules and results from the fall of just this past fall of men's water polo, all those are, and I didn't look at every single one, but every one of those Division I or Division II programs lost at least one game to a Division III program this past fall. And I think, one of the reasons, I said that obviously we're a Division III institution, and one of the reasons that happens is because John said we get more opportunities to do it because we play all divisions all the time. We see, so there's more opportunities that potentially can happen. But I guess the thing that I would just emphasize to you based on what John's saying is that I really encourage you to, in a sport like water polo, more so than probably any other sport, I think is that you really should kind of ignore the label, the divisional label of the institution, and look at the program. Look at the program and what that program offers, because there's a huge variance between the ones that we all know, USC, UCLA, Stanford, and Cal, who are Division I, and kind of what some other teams that are Division I programs are doing, as well as Division III. So I just really encourage you to kind of ignore the level and just really the label and just look at the program. That's your best bet to try and find the program that's the best fit for you.
That's great advice, and that's exactly where we're going. That's a great stat here as well, and that's really what we're talking about here. The biggest differences between these schools, they don't exist in water polo, and water polo is a different breed. We will talk about financial aid at some point, as we get through this, and that is another factor that goes in between divisions 1, 2, and 3, right? Knowing that a lot of East Coast Division 1 schools and the Division 3 schools that have a merit-based water polo scholarship that don't exist, right? And so there are very few scholarships on the Division 1 level, right? Division 2 and 3 don't really offer scholarships. 2, you might get $500 for your books and things like that as a standard, but men's scholarships, especially, I know there's some girls in here, and I'll speak to both sides as well, right? But on the men's side, you get 4.5. The maximum allotment is 4.5 for men, and it's 8 for women. That means that's not how many each have. That's how many they could have if the school gave them scholarships, right? So if the school gave them scholarships, that's the most that they would be allowed to have. So I used some of this math already. Again, Division 3 and 1, and a lot of you ones don't even offer them. Then let's talk about some that do. So I'll just use UC Santa Barbara as an example, because I was there, right? And I spent some time. UC Santa Barbara, we were a Division 1 school with scholarships, but they gave us 4.5. We were more like a 3.1, 3.2 scholarships that we have. Now we have about 30 guys on the team, right? So now I got to divide 3.1 scholarships between 30 guys on the team. How do you think we got to do that? It's a struggle, right? Now I got to pick. And you think we gave one person one of those scholarships? That's an easy way for them to get their teeth broken in practice, right? Because the other 29 guys are going to be like, that's the guy with the money? Okay, we'll make sure he's done next week, right? So really the only thing that we could do was try to spread that out as best that we could. We're trying to help people that need it. And in California, the public schools, and Keith can speak to this much better than I can, right? And that's why I don't claim to be an expert on this. But in California, the public schools, if you qualify for need-based financial aid, that counts against your scholarship money at a public school like that. So if your FAFSA came in, and we can get on this in a little bit, came in and you were getting from the government, from the state of California or from the federal government, you were getting $20,000 a year, that counted as $20,000 against my scholarship cap. My scholarship was probably $1,000, $2,000. So I had to go up to the family and say, do you want $2,000 from me or do you want $20,000 from the government? They're going to take $20,000 from the government, right? So again, this is the hardest part of this talk because this is where everybody's face starts to drop. Water polo scholarships, particularly on the men's side, it's much better for you to operate in the mindset that they don't exist. And it's much better for you to operate in a mindset that they don't exist. And I use this line a lot. For us now, admissions is the new scholarship. Admissions is the new scholarship. It's just how it is for our sport, and that's the reality. If a coach can say, I'm going to help you in the admissions process, I'll guide you through it, right? I'll give you some advice, I'll tag your application, that's an awesome thing. And if they tell you here's $500 to come play with us, then take it. Take it. It's a great offer, right? It's a great offer. Or help get you into one of these great institutions like University of Redlands that can help you with admissions. Be at a great liberal arts college that gives you this kind of private education. That's cool too. But admissions is the new scholarship. On the women's side, it's a little different because there's a little more money, right? There's a little bit more Title IX isn't a great thing and create more opportunities. I wouldn't say it's absolute black and white, like men they don't exist and women they do. It's not like that either. It's a much more gray thing. But on the women's side, again, I would encourage you to do what Tom and I both have said. Is find the school that wants you, right? Find the program that wants you, and I promise you, you'll be there. Hopefully that makes sense. So just to keep going, you guys understand the difference between. There are other options as well, right? There are some NAIA schools. They're smaller. We're getting fewer of these NAIA schools. They're not out there as much as well, but they don't operate by NCAA rules. That was Concordia, that was Cal Baptist, and some of these schools that are out there. Now they've all applied for NCAA sponsorships, so these schools are starting to move into the NCAA, including UC San Diego's now moving into Division 1. By next year, they'll be in the Big West, right, Coach? Yeah.
And Cal Baptist is moving to Division 1 as well.
They'll be Division 1, not Division 2.
Yeah, Cal Baptist is moving up again, and San Diego's moving up. So
they're moving to Division 1.
Yeah.
And Concordia, I think, will be a Division 2 school.
Correct.
Now, after being Fresno Pacific, I think, will be a Division 2 school. All these schools are all NAIA schools that offer water polo that are out there. And there's also the junior college option, right? There is also the junior college option. You live in California, and I give this talk in Pennsylvania, I give this talk in Florida, I give this talk all over the place. You're stoked, you're lucky, because you may get an opportunity to go to junior college around here. We're the only state in the country that offers water polo at the junior college level. And I know that when I played, that was a real big option for people. It seems to be less and less of an option as culture has changed. For whatever reason, I'm here to tell you it's still a really, really good option. because we have some of our best coaches in the country are coaching on the junior college level, some of the best facilities are on the junior college level, and it's a great way to save money, figure out what you want to be when you grow up, which is a really hard thing to do when you're 17 anyway. Keith can talk about that. I'm not the admissions officer, but that's a tough thing, right? It's like, hey, what's your major? You're 17, you're 18 years old, you got to go. And what junior colleges do is they give you that kind of second step, right? There's that second step of getting there. Maybe some of you guys went to junior college in here as well. My final decision was between going to UC Irvine and going to Mount San Antonio College, junior college when I was a player, and it was really, really tempting because I wouldn't have had to take out student loans, right? It's a great facility. It's just a great opportunity to do that, and those still exist. And the ability to transfer from the junior college up into the Division 1, 2, and 3 levels is great. All the coaches there, we're all tied in. It's a small community. Yeah.
John, what I was going to say about that, a couple things about the junior colleges, and I think that's a great option. If that's what works for you, but just a couple things. One, if you're going to go from a junior college and then plan on moving on to a 4-year school and finish your career, you just really, really have to be on it academically. And we've had some tremendous junior college transfers. A couple of them you guys know, Sean Todd, Alec Todd, absolutely phenomenal students. Those guys went to a community college, did great work. They're going to graduate in a total of 4 years. But I've seen, and Keith has seen many of them, seen some community college transcripts that will make you cry, honestly. Like where somebody has been at a community college for 3 years taking classes and has 6 transferable units. And so you just have to make sure that you're on it. And I always tell people, remember this, on your transcript, if it has an F on it, it doesn't say F, but I didn't like the teacher. Or F, but I decided not to go to that class. It's an F. It's just an F. And that's different than a W, which means you withdrew from the class. So things like that. The community colleges are great, and we've had some great ones. Casey Finfrock's another local guy who did a phenomenal job for us academically. But you just got to make sure you're really being proactive to make sure you're doing the right thing academically and getting good grades. And then it's an awesome opportunity.
100%. You're absolutely right. You got to line it up, and again, those coaches will help you. Those head counselors will help you. But again, Tom said it best, and I'll probably add this to one of the slides. Is really more than anything in water, we got to find the program. And if junior college is the right program for you, that's the right program, and that's the right path. I can answer a question, please.
And actually, just real quick, before your college coach in basketball.
Oh.
And basketball, sorry.
Yeah. not in a bad way. I love that.
Another on the JC thing too is also NC2A rules for JC transfers change constantly. So make sure that you guys are in tune and don't take the advice that you said. It's your responsibility to understand the rules of transferring to a 4-year institution and continue to on that. Because there's a lot of those transcripts that are a mess. They think they're doing the right thing, but they're not close.
Coach basketball, San Bernardino?
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
And John, one other thing, just to kind of echo what Tom has said, build a relationship not only with your counselor at a community college if you went that route, get to know who they are. They see a ton of students, but also, and it's probably going to be covered here, build a relationship with your high school counselor. If you look at the public schools, there's 3,000 students for 10 counselors, and there's not 10. I just used 10, but I'm not an athlete here. That's a 300 to 1 ratio. So if there's 5, that's a 450 to 1 ratio. So it's important to get to know your counselor at your school, because when it's all said and done and you're applying to colleges, they're going to want recommendations on it. So it's very important to be proactive, get in their office, and just make sure you're on the right path.
No, that's great advice. And thanks, Coach. Good to have another coach in here as well. My choice was play college basketball, Division 3 college basketball, or D1 polo at the end. And sometimes I regret playing ball. I want to play ball. You know, it's like all rappers want to be basketball players, right? All basketball players want to be rappers, right? All our players want to be some of that. I throw the club teams on there as well. There's a lot of universities that just have water polo as a rec, right? If you just want to play rec, a lot of times I put this up here. Again, just to show you how lucky you are. If you live in Florida, where there are no college water polo programs, I think at the University of Florida, all their athletes pretty much matriculate, most of their athletes matriculate into the club scene, right? There's about 200 or somewhat clubs for each gender in the CWPA. That just basically, this is just for fun, right? You know, it's a lot of times it's self-coached. You pay your own way, but this is, you know, if you end up at a school that doesn't have varsity water polo, this ends up being an option just to kind of cover the array there. And a lot of times, whether it's Florida, Ohio, Texas, They have state programs that really help fund good students like you guys are in here to pay for their colleges if they stay in state, right? So there's this really high encouragement to stay in state, and they don't get this opportunity to end up over there. So where can you get a lot of this water polo? So if you go to this information, if you go to USA Water Polo website, just usawaterpolo.org. One thing I tried to do when I got the job was to aggregate all this stuff in. If you click under community on the website, so this is just the path, right? So usawaterpolo.org, click on community, and then click on college directory. You get every single college coach in the country's headshot, their phone number, their email, and a link to their website. So you don't have to just Google college and water polo anymore and hope and see what comes up, right? All of this is put in one place, and I have an intern that tries to update this, once a month, because there are changes, right? So if you go there, this is one of the first places you're going tonight, right, on the website, and then you'll see it has a list of all the women's programs and all the men's programs, and it's all in one place, right? And from there, you can start really doing your research on what programs you want. And then I'll talk about profiles as we get to it, as we go along. The second thing that's there is that there's all these articles. So we have someone named Angela Krause, who also speaks with me at JOs, that writes all these articles. All these things I'm talking about, that way you don't have to write furious notes on your notepads or on your phones or anything you're doing now. If you go there, every topic is covered in water polo in an article that she wrote, and generally we're aligned in the things we're talking about, and it's all there. So if you want to see an article about official visits, it's on there. About how to communicate with coaches, it's there. SATs, all that stuff. It'll be there. So this is an opportunity for you guys, again, to check all this stuff out. The same place, College Corner, is where that stuff is. If you want to see the clubs that offer water polo, it's on the Collegiate Water Polo website, if that's something that you're interested in. But that's where I would go first. And then, briefly, just in terms of priority list, what you want from university, I think we already said it best, so I'll do this very fast. You want to find the right program for you, specifically for you. But the way that I would give my recruiting pitch in the past to families was this. Basically, you're looking for three things, and the number one thing is academics. Right? I've had a few meetings this week about starting a professional water polo league in America. We're a long ways away. And even when we do start one, or we do get to start one, or we have people playing professional water polo, it's not going to pay you a lot of money, right? It's not a career path, right? Professional water polo is not a career path. So academics have to be the priority here, right? They just have to be. There's no other choice, right? You don't play water polo in college, it's not like I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to make money playing water polo. I think, and Tom and I are one of the few, and I'm following his lead here, and some of the few people that make water polo a career of their life, right? I'm really lucky. Really lucky that water polo is the only thing I get to do all the time. It hasn't been. I was a teacher, right? Did a lot of different things before this only. So water polo is not the answer. Academics is the answer, right? So it's really important. So hopefully some of you are not seniors in high school, so you have time, right? Hopefully some of you guys are younger, and I can tell you right to your face that school is important. School is very, very important, right? What your grades are important, what you're in the classroom, this is crucial, right? Because number one, does the academic of the school fit your priority list, right? And does it give you what you want to study, right? Is it exactly what you want to study? And then two, is it the right place for you athletically, right? It's the right place for athletic. A lot of times when I talk to student athletes, this is what I'm trying to say. You may not want to be the best player on the team that you're going to, but you certainly don't want to be the worst player on the team that you're going to as well, right? Moving to college. You want to find a place that's going to right in the middle. It's going to challenge you, right? You're going to get better because you're competing against some better people, but you're also not going to get buried on the roster, right? And not find your own chance or your opportunity, right? You want to be somewhere in the middle. Maybe you want to be the best player on the team, right? Go for it. I'm not discouraging that, right? But what I'm saying is, a lot of times, if you want to find growth and development on the college level, right? You want to try to find that place that really fits you athletically, right? Gives you that nice fit that Coach and I are talking about, right? And the last thing is just kind of campus life and what it's like. Is the campus a place you want to be? Walking around this campus, this is a nice campus. This is a great place to be, right? A nice college like this reminds me a lot of Bucknell. It reminds me a lot of the liberal arts colleges that I've spent some time on, chatting in different places with these nice community towns. The coach can be mad that I even said the word chatting. My wife just accepted a teaching position there next week, so she'll be a professor there. So, sorry. So the way that I would give this pitch is if I'm talking to you and you go three, and you're sitting in my office and you're 3 for 3, not 1 for 3, not 2 for 3, but if we're 3 for 3 on this, then you found your place. But you can't make any compromises on these, right? There's no compromise here. Well, they didn't really have the major I wanted. Well, you can't go to school then, right? It doesn't really fit in. I'm never going to play, right? Coach doesn't want me. Well, then you can't go to school then, right? I hate it there, you know, I love it there, whatever. You gotta go 3 for 3, right? If you go 3 for 3, and if you go through your list, go back to the last slide, and you go through all the colleges, right? Only contact and only really research the ones where you think you have a chance of going 3 for 3 on. Don't waste too much time. I'm gonna talk about communicating with college coaches later, but this is really important just in terms of your priorities, right? So if I know that if a person looked at me and I was in the middle of Pennsylvania and I was sitting in the office at Bucknell and someone said, hey, you got an awesome school, I'm gonna do well academically here. Man, water polo program looks great, I'm gonna be there. I cannot live in central Pennsylvania for the next 4 years. Okay, really nice to meet you, I'll see you later, right? This is no harm, no foul. But if the 3 things are like, this is great, boom, we're all the way in, right? And it's an easy and a short conversation than me spending time trying to convince you of something that doesn't exist or is not real. Okay?
Yeah.
Do you wanna add, like,
Yeah, I was gonna kind of go off of that. As you move forward with your search, one thing I always ask students, and it's usually when I talk to groups, especially juniors and seniors, I always say, pick yourself as a senior right now. Believe it or not, there's about 3,400 colleges that are out there. Not all water polo, obviously, but 3,400 schools. How do you get 34 down to 10? You're not going to apply to them all, right? You got to have criteria. So as you move forward with the search, what's going to help you apply? You know, and it's these 3. Think location quite a bit because there's a lot to do with location. It's just not living close to home or away from home. It's the weather. It's city versus rural. I mean, so there's so much in it, and that's where your criteria just continues to develop. And when it's all said and done, it comes down to what's the right fit. You know, what's the right fit? What makes me feel at home? So,
for sure. So I just talked about this, and I said this before. Admissions is the new scholarship, right? So if you're going to get admitted, it's hard to get admitted if your transcript's not in order, right? If your grades aren't in order, if everything's on a GPA, how you're doing. I'm not going to spend too much time on these slides because this is why you have college counselors at your high schools, right? And like Keith was saying, you have counselors at your high school. Take advantage of them. Be proactive. Go to their office. Go to school 20 minutes early one day. Knock on their door. They're there for a reason. Right? Take advantage of them. Take advantage of talking to Keith afterwards here. He's got a lot of information back there. But the one thing I'll say about all this stuff is I can talk about this all night, and I know it as a teacher and as a person who's gone through this, but it's going to be different at every single school. So whatever information I give you, whatever school you're going to is going to tell you something different. So you got to go to each school and figure out what you want. But again, don't do it with a ton of schools because you're wasting a lot of time. Go back through your list, do your homework. Start with the top 10 tonight. You can probably identify 10 schools tonight before you go to bed, right? Got you fired up here thinking about college water polos, go home, think of the 10. And then the next few months, especially your sophomore or junior, then take it to 5. Then take it to 3. And then really start focusing and getting all that information. But school's important. School's important, school's important, school's important. Did you hear that? School's important. All right. Standardized tests, all these things, just start getting at it. A lot of times I talk about this, and maybe you guys can speak to what happens here at Redlands, right? But SATs versus ACT, and I'd like to hear what's happening here, but a lot of times the reason I put these up here is because a lot of kids in California don't know about the ACT as much as people outside of California do. And this has been my experience, is that the kids in the Midwest, really, they know the ACT before they know the SAT. And then around here, it's like SAT first and ACT second. And for a lot of people, the ACT tends to be a more accessible test for them, or it depends what kind of student you are, what kind of person you are, and what fits, right? So I imagine here at Redlands, the ACT and the SAT are looked at the same, or is it different? Yeah? Okay, so it's looked at the same. And there's usually an equivalency ranking, right? That'll have like, hey, I got a 28 on my ACT, so that means this as an SAT score. You know, and so it's important that you know both these tests exist. But please,
I'll tell you what we do.
Yeah.
Number 1, I tell all students, take both tests twice.
Yep.
We're going to what they call super score. We're going to take your highest score and from whatever the setting is and create those as whatever your total test score is. So California is more of an SAT state where high school counselors kind of push the SAT. I used to work for a school in Colorado. Their whole state pushes the ACT. So they're required as graduation requirements to take the ACT. It's changed now with the new SAT, but when I see students take both, usually I see students do a little bit better on the ACT, but then there's also students, they do better on the SAT, so do take both.
Find the test that's better for you.
We do. Yeah, the question is, do we have a minimum score? Yeah, I mean, we get into a very holistic approach, but the lower it goes, the more people review a file. So 15 people can review a file.
And a lot of times to the ACT, the difference, what people generally kind of ask, what's the difference between the two, right? Is it seems that the SAT is a little more geared towards, memorization and vocabulary, and it's very objective, whereas the ACT tends to actually go across a broader scope of subjects, right, that you learn in high school, right? And then if you get that broader range, then all of a sudden your score might improve because you're good at another area that the SAT didn't offer, right? So these things to look at so that you know that those things are out there. Again, I say this in California, I don't have to say this in Chicago. I get to talk to Chicago, and they're asking me about the SAT because nobody takes the SAT in Chicago. Very rarely. They're all taking the ACT. So just know they're both there. So why not do like he said, give yourself the best possible advantage, right, of getting yourself into college and give yourself a fighting chance at this. And as you take these tests and you get your scores, make sure you're sending those as part of your communication with the coaches. We'll talk about that along the way. So this is just kind of where I know I want to tell you what's going on, and I joke about Mythbusters. I think that shows off the internet, but if that was still there, that's a myth. For us in water polo, not necessarily basketball, right? For us in water polo, right, the coaches play a major role in the school's admissions process. Can they? Yes or no? Awesome. We want to put this in your hands. I want to protect my coaches, right? If I'm representing these coaches can help you. They can help you, right? But a lot of times I'll get this from athletes. I emailed the Brown coach, I gave him my transcripts, right? And then he told me he didn't get back to me, right? Or I didn't know, right? I didn't know what was going on. Okay, well I can tell you that sometimes at the Ivy League schools or these other places, that coach may not be able to get to the admissions officer every week. They might not get to them once a month, right? They may not only get to the meeting with the admissions officer once a quarter, right? Once in a while. So you got to know that it's not going to be an instant thing along the way. That's what I'm saying. The college coaches get to communicate with their admissions officer all the time. You guys are, I'm already making this pitch for Reynolds because the admissions officer's here. So I'm making this. You're inadvertently making this a stronger case for yourself by this PowerPoint, knowing that the coach and the admissions officer are sitting right next to each other. So this is clearly a good place because they get that communication, right? It's not like this everywhere, right? Not like this everywhere. Not like this at every university where you have admissions officers who are constantly engaged in water polo, right? In our sport, right? Otherwise, it could be different, right? Everybody recruited gets scholarships. False, right? If you're getting recruited, you're being talked to, you're engaged in the process. Admissions is the new scholarship. Take advantage of being part of the process and going through this. And this is the one where I make everybody cry. If the coach does not contact me, he or she is not this one. It's the next one, I guess. If he or she is not interested, if they don't contact me, they're not interested. That's not true either. So again, I gave the example of Coach Whittemore being by himself, right? Essentially with two teams. He's not going to be able to contact everybody all the time in this, right? So we'll talk to communicating coaches. If the coach doesn't contact me or she's not interested, that's not true either, right? And then you have to know that you have to push through that communication. I think I used to have something on here to say, do college water polo scholarships exist? And I'd say false, and then everyone would get upset. But I already went over this earlier, and we know that it's a little different. So contacting coaches. So we talked about how to get this to contacting coaches. Some of the rules that are out there. Coaches aren't allowed to contact prospects. These rules change, by the way, all the time, right? And we got to kind of stay up on these. So just understand some of these. This might be an old PowerPoint that I'm using here. So coach, you may have to help me out a little bit here. Some of this has changed over the years. I gotta find my most recent one. But now, as a Division III coach, you can call all the time, right?
We can there's no real restrictions on when we can call and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I know we can do, and I'll be honest, I don't want to do it, and I'm not planning on doing it. And I don't know if this is all divisions or not, but we can actually do official visits after January 1 of their junior year.
Yeah.
So we could technically bring somebody on campus and have them stay overnight after January of their junior year. Now, to be honest with you, I have no desire to do that. I worry enough having 17-year-olds, 16-year-olds on campus as seniors. Thought of having 15 or 16-year-olds on campus overnight. I'd rather wait till you're a senior. I think that's a better way to go about it.
Well, then probably some of the key dates that exist in the past, and some of this change is that kind of July 1st of your senior year is when the phone calls start to begin. September 1st of your junior year is when the emails can start coming in. I understand there's been different rules for different institutions, like Division III schools have their own rules, and also the military. If anybody here is interested in the military, right, the militaries have their own rules. We have 2 military institutions that offer water 3, if you count with the women's one. So there's the Virginia Military Institute on the women's side, right, that offers women's varsity water polo, and then on the men's side we have the Air Force and Naval Academies, right, that offer water polo high level. Very difficult to get into admissions wise, but if on that path, Military-wise, unbelievable options, obviously, right? You get a chance to do that at a higher level. I have a rule in communication: if you email a coach 3 times, you've really emailed them once, right? So, and I had to go through this, and I had to, as a coach myself, and I'm speaking for the coaches in here, you got to really 3 times be equals 1. So say, because if you go back to what I was saying before, someone will come and say, well, I emailed the Redlands coach, he didn't email me back. That doesn't mean he's not interested, right? It doesn't mean he's not interested. It means he's very busy, right? It means he's very busy. Okay? And when I say trending, this is how I was trying to get to. If you open up my laptop that I was just sitting in the Plaza Cafe a minute ago, before I got in here, I have 2,800 emails in my inbox. At the moment, I have 2,800 emails, right? This is different. This is similar to what some of the college coaches are dealing with. So I have to start finding who's trending in my inbox, right? So if I start seeing Tom Whittemore's name 3, 4, 5 times, right, as I'm scrolling through, I better call Tom, or I better write it down at some point, right? I better write it, because I didn't respond to the first one, I didn't respond to the second one, try to respond to the third. So you guys are all on Twitter now and started using this word trending, right? If you're trending in my inbox, I'm probably gonna respond. If you're not trending in my inbox, it's hard for you to stand out. Now there's a fine line about being really annoying, right? And being really pushy, but also being a good communicator. And you can find that fine line as you work through this, right? I'm not saying be completely obnoxious. What I'm saying is it's gonna take a few times to knock on your door. If the coach does not respond, remember this rule, keep knocking on the door, right? Use a mature email address. If you don't have an email address right now that's your first name and your last name at yahoo or gmail.com, you gotta do it now. You have to do this now, because you're making a first impression as you walk in here for these, or excuse me, as you email a coach for the first time, right? So it can't be surferdude714, right? yahoo.com. Real email address. stonerdude69, real email address, in my inbox. I think I wrote that person back, right? Sexy Polo mama, right? 007, right? At hotmail.com, real email address. Luckily, I forgave her. It was early in my career. She ended up being my captain for 4 years, you know, but I never let her live that down. That's not, I mean, it's just not okay, right? Now you live in this world where it's got to be professional, it's got to be mature, you're making the first impression on somebody. It's really difficult for me to get over that when you're sitting in my office and I'm recruiting you, and that's the email that keeps coming through. And it's got to be simple for me to remember, right? Sometimes the email address now have like small numbers and letters, and some are capitalized, some aren't capitalized. Listen, it's just easy. johndoe@gmail.com, right? First name, last name. So if someone already got it, flip your last name and your first name, you know, and make it happen. Whatever. I did it for my toddler sons. Right now they have email addresses already because I don't want to deal with this problem, you know, down the line. So just understand that, right? You're making that first impression as you're coming in. Also, when you're communicating with these coaches, so already you're emailing them. We're talking about how you're going to email these coaches. You already have them in your inbox. You're talking to them right away with a real good email address, right, that you're using. Second is make sure that you're giving them a personal email that's not copy and pasted. One of the worst things I've seen waterpolo athletes do over the years, I'm sure Coach has 100 stories to do. He did this way longer than I ever did and ever will. But in the process, how many times have you seen an athlete go to that list I told you about before that has a lot of coaches take every single email address off that list, put them all in the to section, email every single coach in the country with the same thing. Hey, my name is Brian. I'm really good at water polo, right? Somebody call me back, right? And that's all. We've seen this happen, right? Seen this happen. You can't email every coach in the country at the same time, and you can't email a group of coaches together, right? Email everybody individually, and you can copy and paste, but make sure that when you do copy and paste, you're copying, pasting, and changing the words. You don't know how many times when I was at Bucknell, Tom will only get this joke, but Coach Mercado, you know, I really want to come to Bucknell University. I'm like, I don't know, Coach Abdou, right? Coach Mercado was at Brown University, right? And I'd forward the email back, and I'd copy him on there. If you're really interested in Brown, talk to the Brown coach. I like the Brown coach, right? Right? We may, you know, just because we both have dark skin, right? That's the same thing too. You know? It happens all the time, right? It happens all the time. And that is just, it's just poor form to start, right? You're trying to make a good impression on a coach. You're starting this process. My absolute best advice I give you is don't copy and paste the email and just try to write a short personal email. Best email you can write a coach, I'll give it to you in 15 seconds, okay? Coach Whittemore, congratulations on your win against Whittier on Friday night. Right, I see that you won 11-4. I also saw on your roster that you have five people from the Inland Empire, 6 people from the Inland Empire on your roster. This is fantastic. Here's my resume is attached. I'm really looking forward to meeting you. Please let me know if you have any other questions and respond. Boom, right away, now Coach Whittemore's reading this email and it says, hey, this kid's paying attention, right? They know that we beat Whittier on Friday night, right? They know who's on our roster. We're reading our roster, right? They've seen where our people are from on our roster. They know about our school, right? They've attached their CV, they've attached their resume to the email, right? It took me 15, 20 seconds to read the email as opposed to writing me something long, right? That's simple to the point, and I know it's direct.
Oh, and don't do texting
Yes,
in your email. Text language.
text language, fair
Because
enough.
a lot of coaches, what is he saying here?
This is fair. Write complete sentences, how about that? Yeah, right? Don't write you, the letter U for the word you, okay? Any of those things. You're absolutely right, sir. Absolutely right. So just understand those emails, those are first impressions, are the ones to go. So we'll talk about how to write that. We talked about how to write that email, but we'll talk about how to communicate them as we keep going here. Also understand your social media. I'll be really brief on this, but this I feel like even the adults in the room are probably getting this in their human resources meetings at work as well, right? People are on Facebook, people are watching it. Now it's different because you guys no longer have Facebook, you're on Snapchat, you're on different things like that because people learn it's better for the message to disappear in 7 seconds, right? Than it is for it to last forever on Facebook, right? And then all your parents got Facebook and you all ran away. You know? I know how that works too, right? My mom got on Facebook, I deleted my account. And so, understand, this is what, it's true, maybe it happened to you too, but my mom's really upset, you know? There used to be chatting online right back then, that rarely happens. Again, but this happens on Facebook too, if you're Facebook friends with the coach. I've had this happen all with international athletes, right, who try to chat online. Things like, although that has now recently become more legal, right, there's less illegal as it was before. And just be aware of what you're using, what you're doing on social media. Be aware of what you post, be aware of what you tweet. I mean, I say this just to everybody, it's real simple for us, especially in water polo. There's a 1 degree of separation in water polo. There's a 1 degree of separation. Not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, there's 1. It's a small sport. Right? So if I wanted to know what was going on, I mean, it's just for me, right? We talked a little bit about coming out here, helping out, having a college talk, and you're like, oh, do you know Coach Whittemore? He may come. Yeah, I know Coach Whittemore. Not only did he, recruit me, him and his staff tried to recruit me as a player, right? We know each other's right. That's how small of a connection it is. And then if I want to know, let's say you live in Redlands, right? And you're being recruited by, let's not use Redlands anymore, right? You're being recruited by Harvard, right? Or Bucknell on the East Coast or something like that, right? You come out on a visit from Redlands all the way to the East Coast to visit me. There's a 1 degree of separation with the athletes on my team to find out who you are. There's a 1 degree of separation for me to find out more about you. There's almost 100% chance that someone on my team is Facebook friends with someone you're Facebook friends with. That's it. You're not going to get lost in the shuffle. I'm going to say, find out where Brian is, right? Go online, look at his Facebook page, and let me know what's going on. And this is important. And not just in the process leading up to, well, we're vetting you out, we're trying to find out who you are. We're going to find out afterwards, too. I'll tell you, I like telling this story. I know I have several. Coach probably has a bunch too. Next time you're doing this talk. I had a kid coming from San Diego. I put him on the train. I was in Santa Barbara. Put him on the train to come up to Santa Barbara. Right, coming up the coast. I thought we had a really good chance. I'm preparing everything for him. I'm the one who's going to go pick him up from the train station. I get a call from one of the guys on my team that says, "Hey man, Cody's coming up from Santa Barbara, coach. I just looked on his Facebook page and he just committed to UCLA." He's on the train right now. On his Facebook page, his new profile pic is him with UCLA in the corner, right? Fist bumping, saying, committed to UCLA. Now I know this kid is coming up on this train ride just to get a free dinner, right? Free weekend in Goleta and hang out, right? That's a poorly played, right? Poorly played. You wait 2 more days to put that picture up, you're going to get a steak dinner at the beach cafe, and you would have a nice weekend, right? Complete blues cover, right? I waited for him at the train station. I didn't cancel the trip right then. Waited for him at the train station, asked him to walk off the train, put him on the next train back home. Right? It was very simple, right? It was a very, very simple process. As he was there, I called his parents, said, hey, make sure I'm close. This is your mom's number. I just want to make sure I'm calling the right number. Call the number, right? Here's your ticket. Have a great weekend. It's a 6-hour train ride from San Diego. It's 6 hours to think about how silly social media can be in this process. How you make it. I bet this happens in basketball a lot more than this, right? I bet it does. I bet it does. So how to get to college? How do you visit? Right now, you're visiting a college campus while you're here. So you got a college. You guys are lucky to have a college in town and have a coach and an admissions office that's willing to help you. And San Bernardino, other colleges nearby you. You're in a nice spot to be able to do all these things. But remember, if you're going to do an official visit, we'll talk about the differences. You get 5 official visits, right? You get 5 official visits, but you get unlimited unofficial visits. So what I encourage on my side is take as many unofficial visits as you can, right? So if you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, you need to be in the car on spring break, summer, wherever the next Cal Cup, JO Quals, wherever the next tournament's going to be, wherever it's at, go and visit the colleges in that area unofficially. So you're starting to see, and I know it happens in other sports, right? If official visits aren't allowed till your senior year, here's the question for all of us. If official visits aren't allowed till your senior year, then why does every time I turn on SportsCenter, athletes are committing their freshman year, or committing their sophomore year, right? How are they committing so early? Or for it's lacrosse, right? How are they committing so early? Because the official visit won't happen until their senior year. They went and visited the school unofficially. There's a number of ways you can visit unofficially, right? Get on campus. Every campus has an admissions office that offers free tours all day long, all right? So you set up your tour on spring break, set up your tour in the summer, make sure you get your admission tour, make sure you guys are visiting the campus. Once you're on campus, you can talk to the coach, you can set up meetings with the coach, let them know you're coming. And going back to that email I gave you very briefly, right? Part of that is my resume is attached, but also I'm visiting your college campus. I'm visiting Redlands on September 23rd at noon. If somebody on your staff or from your team can see me, that'd be great to see you. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But let them know that you're there in advance and you get a chance to visit this. Again, I really recommend taking as many unofficial visits as you can. You're going to get a lot out of these visits, and you're going to get a lot out of spending some time on campus. And there's different ways to do this, and I'll talk about that now. Another way to do that is to go to institutional camps, right? Having camps on college campuses is a really helpful way to learn about those schools. Because in a sense, you start bypassing NCAA rules, right? So maybe you don't know this, but when you do go on an official visit, or you do on an unofficial visit to campus, at no point the coach can get you in the water and evaluate you, right? They're not going to get you in and say, can you go swim that 200? I want to see how fast you are, right? They're not going to get you in and say, I want to see how clearly. You can't do that, right? You can't do that. So when you go to institutional camps, a lot of times when these camps are offered by the colleges, you have a coach, the coaching staff gets to coach you, right? They're interacting with the players and the team. A lot of times they're the counselors on the team. You're eating in the dining hall, you're sleeping in the dorms. It's an easy way to figure out what's going on campus, whether you like it or not, right? It's an easy way to, and a lot of times you can do this from 10 years old all the way up, and this is different than an official visit, right? You get a chance to have this, and you have to do it before you have to get paid, not simply for an official visit. So if you're really interested in a school and they offer a camp, I would recommend at some point going to that camp, right? Any questions on that? I should stop talking for a second. Yes?
I was just going to say, you'd also mentioned at the camp that the coaches are looking not just at how you play, but how you act, how you behave,
Yeah.
all of that, how important that is.
Yeah. It does play into it. Well, it's just more time, right? It's more time together. I can tell you, for me at Bucknell, in central Pennsylvania, where there wasn't local water polo for me to recruit from, and I had to get everyone out there, I would say by the time, and I wish I would have stayed there longer if I could, but towards the end, probably 75% of my athletes had attended one of my camps at some point in the summer. So it's a really easy way for me to get to know them, get to find out if they're good kids, right? And then they know if they really want to do it. At that point, then they'll come back and tell me, hey, I went to camp when I was younger, and it's my number one choice, I really want to be there. Yeah.
And should they repeat, if they're younger, or just wait till they're sophomores and that, and it's not?
I would wait, yeah. I mean, if you're repeating more than one camp at an institution camp, hopefully there's a reason. Maybe your team's going, right? Sometimes teams go up and do the camp together, like a high school group or something. Maybe do that, but I would try to vary it up, and visit as many as you can. Yeah. And a lot of times these happen in the summer. These are mainly in the summertime. And a lot of times now, most colleges are getting smart about doing them in August, after Junior Olympics, after high school state championships, after all the stuff. And sometimes now they've shrunk them into 2-3 days in August, and it's not a huge commitment. There's some in December now. It's just another way to get better. It's not like you're just there to visit the college. You're going to get better at water polo too. Hopefully, it's a good camp. Right?
I think what you need to tell the students is that if they take the visit, they're being evaluated by the players to see if they want that person on the team. It's not them individually. They got to watch how they conduct themselves that weekend. They're out of hand doing all this. Hey, coach, we don't want him on the team. He could be the top player in the nation.
It happens, right?
Oh, I know.
It happens. Yeah. It definitely does. Particularly on the girls' side, to be honest with you too. A lot of the women's teams I coach, right? When there's someone come out on an official visit, right? The first thing the captain comes to me in my office on Monday and says, how was the weekend? And these 6 girls were here, but those 4 girls were okay. Those 2 are not, right? These 4 fit in. These 2. So there's truth in that statement, right? In the sense of to fit in, is it all worthwhile? And everyone's watching how you behave. Yes, ma'am.
Where do you find information on?
That's a good question. The way that I would go about this is I would actually think of the school first and the camp second. So like, hey, I'm really interested in institution X. And then once you're really, really interested in institution X, find out if they offer a camp or not, right? Because otherwise then you're going to a camp and it may not be serving the purpose that I'm talking about. If you're just looking for water polo camps, Google water polo camps and a bunch will come up, But if I'm in the context that I'm talking about, I would search for it in relation to the specific school you're looking at. That's a good question. I quickly talked about financial aid. In some of this, we've kind of already gone over this in the sense of of all the realities that go with it. One thing that Keith can talk to you guys more about as time goes on, just understand that there are other ways than just water pool scholarships. Kind of give you the truth from scholarship with water pool scholarships. But fastweb.com, right? My Scholar is a new thing. I learned about this when I was watching Shark Tank. Maybe some of you guys watch the show as well, right? This is a new thing where there are scholarships that, millions of scholarships that go unused every year, right? So if you're looking for extra financial aid on top of what you're doing, do your homework and get yourself. These are websites where you put your profile in, right? And then based on your profile, they try to match you up with more scholarships, right? And understand too that most of these schools that we're talking about in water polo also offer need-based aid. Right? So if there's financial need in your family, right, make sure that you're asking your college counselor, the school they interested, ask them about need-based aid as well, not just merit-based aid. Then ask them about academic aid, right? Then ask them about how your grades are in relation there. So there are other ways to get money. I don't want to just break your heart and say there's no water polo scholarships out there. There's academic scholarships out there, there's need-based scholarships out there, and there's personal scholarships out there that you might be able to find as well. Please.
Yeah. So one thing a lot of families don't know what's out there. There's every school has what they call a net price calculator. So if you go to, and we'll just use Redlands because we're here, our total cost here is tuition is $48,000, room and board is $14,000, we're $62,000. I will guarantee not anyone in this room will pay $62,000 because of the aid that you get. If you go to our website or any school that you're looking at, it's kind of like Geico. Give us 15 minutes, we'll show you what you save. You go in. Put in your numbers. It's going to ask your parents' income. It'll ask your GPA and SAT scores. If you don't know it, you just kind of guess a number, and then you send it. It'll come right back saying, based on this is our cost. This is what you would qualify in grants and scholarships, student loans, campus job. And then from there you're going, wow, it helps kind of make that criteria hopefully worthwhile. So. Net price calculator is what it is.
Well, let me ask you something real quick. Does that factor in if you had 2 or 3 other kids in
Yes.
college at the same time?
Yeah, that's one of the questions that's asked on that.
Yeah, you can have all the income you want, but you got all this other expenses out there that are acknowledging.
No, those are pretty all encompassing. Those
I
are
think that relative to the net price calculator, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the different colleges and universities, pretty much everybody has one now.
yeah.
But there's no necessarily like kind of guidelines about kind of how correct it has to be, how specific it has to be. So at some schools, they're asking you, you're going to get they're going to ask you for more information, and the estimate you're going to get is going to be much more accurate because they're asking you for more information on that net price calculator. But one thing I was going to say about financial aid is I always have conversations with families, and they say, well, we already know we don't qualify for anything. And I can't emphasize to you enough that you don't believe that. If Bill Gates filled out a FAFSA form, his son would not pay the full price. I'm telling you, okay? And so, I think the confusion that people have is they look at kind of state schools or UC schools, and there's a little bit of this assumption like, well, I know we don't qualify for a Cal Grant. I know we're not going to qualify for a Pell Grant. So I have a son who went to Cal State LA, and we didn't qualify for anything. Just fill it out. Just do it. Fill out I can't give you any, I don't need to explain what, but just fill out the FAFSA form and do it regardless of what you think, and then multiply it by 4, right? Because if I were to say it to any of you right now, how would you like it would you accept $10,000 if I just gave it to you right now? You'll say, of course, give me $10,000. And if just by filling out the FAFSA form, even if it's not a lot, if it's $2,500, and you multiply it by 4, that's $10,000, right? And it'll probably be way more than that. I don't know everybody's finances, but I just can't emphasize to you enough. Just go through the process. And I would encourage you not to eliminate any school that you're interested in based on finances initially. Go through the process, and it may work out better than you think. And I'm sure you have these experiences. I've been here 29 years. I can guarantee you I've had many people who I think sincerely wanted to come to the University of Redlands and didn't because it wasn't the right financial fit for them. But I've had tons of people who were really reluctant. I don't think we can afford it. Went through the process, and they went, wow, that's way better than I thought. And I'm sure the same thing happens at universities all across the country. So just go through the financial aid process, and can't guarantee anything, but it will be worth your time to explore for all your admins.
He's absolutely right. Coach is absolutely right. Yeah. The more effort you put in, the more that comes out of this, right? The more effort you put in, the more that comes out. And the coaches aren't the experts. 100% financial aid, take advantage of the experts, people who are in it every day, right, who are doing this, and take advantage of every resource. Do not leave any stone unturned. That's really good advice on this. And we'll find. I hope that's true for my 3-year-old son, 15, 16 years ago. Resume. So we talked about trying to write a resume. So you got to write a resume, right? I've referenced this probably 25 times in this talk that you got to write a resume. If you don't have a water polo resume, you got to start putting this together. So I'll give you some examples. I have some on here, but one thing that I talk about when you guys are building your resume is make sure that you write things that, focus on the vitals. Focus on what's vital. This thing has to be simple, and it's got to be one page, right? It can't be much longer than that. But what's the most vital thing? Is your academic information, right? I got to know your academic information, number one. First and foremost, and your year of graduation. I'll show you some examples after this, but it's really hard based on NCAA rules. If I get a resume in my inbox, or a coach gets a resume in his inbox, he's going to first thing to say, what year does this person graduate? Because I got to know what file to put them in, right? Is this person graduating next year, or are they graduating 3 years from now, right? They're freshmen, what's going on, right? Understand that there's those are the beginnings of the vitals: academics, SATs, ACT scores. For us, it's swim times, right? Can you give us some basic swim times? I'm gonna probably update this, put a 200, right? I mean, 200 free is kind of the water polo test out there because it shows, right? I mean, maybe you can get into swim 50 fast, that's pretty good, but what happens when you got to swim 4 or 5 more laps after that, right? What happens to you? So like a 200 times is good for us to know. Maybe you have a specialty stroke, right? A lot of times, maybe you swim breaststroke super fast. Maybe tell us, right? I'm a really fast breaststroker, right? This is what I do. But don't tell me that you run really fast. Don't tell me that you're a good diver or something like that. That's not relevant, right? I want to know that I want to know what your swim times are. Academic achievements, just kind of like the highlights on academic achievements. Any athletic major awards, we don't even know everything, right? So sometimes we get resumes where there's 25 different athletic achievements they got. I was most inspirational in 8th grade, right? I was most improved in 8th. Okay, that's great, but just remember that there's context in all these things as you move up, right? Extracurricular activities, references, three, maybe one action shot or a headshot so they can see your face. Water polo is really hard, right? Because you gotta wear a cap and you're in the water at the same time. So sometimes as recruiters, we'll joke as college coaches watching these games, we have no idea what you look like, right? And girls, your hair's under the cap, right? So you put all your hair in the cap, then you put your cap over your head, and you got water splash all around you. I couldn't pick you out in the lineup if my life depended on it, right? If you're in the water, that's really difficult. So maybe a good headshot, just so I know who you are if I see you walking in my office, right? Where you're at, and keep it at one page. All this is really important. There's one glaring omission here that a lot of people always ask me about. At no point in here do I ask you for your statistics. At no point in here am I saying, on your resume, give me your stats. Tell me how many goals you scored this year, right? Tell me how many assists you had. All of that is just contextual. I don't know what that means, right? I don't know what that means. When an athlete sends me a resume and they say they scored 192 goals in their season, I'm not really sure what that means, right? I can make assumptions. I can assume that you scored 25 goals in a game at one point, right? Because you played a really bad team, right? I can assume that you were doing something else. So I'm telling you, especially in water polo, that's really hard. And for the basketball coaches, maybe there is some objectivity to it, right? You're averaging 20 points and 10 rebounds a game. I don't care where you are, you're probably doing a good job, right? But for us, that's hard to figure out. Water polo is a much more subjective thing because for a lot of reasons, right? It's a much more objective thing for us to do. So statistics, these numbers you throw out there, it's not going to help you. What's going to help you is the reference, right? What's going to help you if someone tells me, right? If I'm living on the East Coast and I call Coach Whittemore and I say, can this guy move in the water? Can he swim? Is he balanced when he holds the ball, right? Is he friendly with the water? Does he have a good relationship with the water, right? Or can he move, right? Can he pass, right? That's a much more subjective thing to figure out than these objective numbers that sometimes people want to throw out. And you're not swimming. If I said this over the weekend in another talk I was giving, I wish I was a high performance director for swimming. It's much easier to do that job. Being a high performance director for water polo, I'm saying I gotta find out if this guy or girl has the long-term potential to become an Olympian one day. That's my job on a daily basis. That's really hard. It's really hard. And for me to find out if a 14-year-old girl, right, has got what it takes to make it, it's difficult. But if I was a swim high performance director, I would put a number on this board, right? And then I would sit in a director's chair, right, in the corner, and say, if you're faster than that time, you make the team. If you're slower than that time, you don't. And I select you. It's super simple, super objective out there. right? Water polo for us is a much more subjective thing. We have to know, again, not only just character and the academics and all those things, we have to know how well you are in the water. I say this a lot when I give water polo clinics. Do you have a good relationship with the water? Right? How you move in the water. When you're watching a basketball player, if he's tripping over himself while he's dribbling the basketball, you'd be like, hey, that guy can't play basketball. Easy for me to figure out. Water polo players in the water, right? And every time you pick up the ball, you're dropping it, right? Or every time you're taking a stroke, all this water splashing around you, right? Or you can't 8 meter comfortably with your hands out of the water, right? Or you can't comfortably move, pick up the ball, and seamlessly, right, make it pass, then I know you can't play. There's basic fundamentals that you need, and I can get much more into that as time goes on. But understand that in terms of what you want to communicate to a college coach, you want to get this out as quickly as you can, as simple as you can. So this would be my sample resume. So if you just wanted a template, I would put a template like this together, and I would just fill in the blanks, and you can keep that on one page when you're done, right? So this is much easier for you to just take this and go, and I'll show you some real life examples after this. But usually, as you guys are taking pictures of this, there's always a good time for you to talk about some of the things that are in there that you see. Again, I would say, again, I've talked about references. I think references are really important because not always are the college coaches going to be able to get out and see you play. So if they can't get out and see you play, I got to ask somebody. And I said this earlier. How many degrees of separation are there in water polo? 1. So it's very quick for me to find a reference for you, or see someone or talk to someone who's seen you play, right? And give you that. That's pretty quick and that's simple. So this is important. I do want to know how your team is doing. I'm not saying don't tell me, right? Tell me how your team is doing. We do it in one line, right? Tell me some of your personal accomplishment. It's important for me to know. Hey, I volunteer 200 hours a year at a homeless shelter. That makes a difference in my life. I want to know, right? You're a good person. You're working hard, right? It doesn't have to be a full page of that, right? But if you're doing something that's extraordinary, I want to know. Talk about this, and this is where I kind of usually talk about ODP. People ask me about it, right? And say, should I do it? Do I don't do it? Should I talk about it? Where is it at? Right? What's the point of it? The only thing that I would tell you about this, because I'm somewhat biased in that I run the program, right, is that if you don't do it, right, it's more than okay. It's not the only way to get accepted into college. It's not the only way to get into college. It's just not, right? And some will try to sell it like that. That's not how I sell it. It's my program. I don't sell it like that, right? It's one avenue. It's one avenue. It's a good avenue. It's a good program. I stand behind it. But if you don't do it, someone's gonna ask you why, right? And maybe here in Southern California, right, you guys have a lot of water, we have a lot of options, right? So it might be a little different. But you don't do it, I might say, hey, why don't you do it? Hey, why not? You know, if you tell me it's because I'm also on the basketball team, right? I'm also on the swim team, I don't have any time. Oh, cool, got it, right? Hey, I play, you know, the flute, I got other things, I have other skills that I'm developing, right? Related to school, okay, right? But if you're telling me that water polo is your number one thing, this one is water polo, and you're not doing it, you're gonna have to tell me why you're not trying to do everything that you can, right? And one thing to understand about the program, or why we put on here, why we ask about it is, there's value in the process along each way, right? So it's not just about, hey, did you make a national team or did you not make the national team, right? But did you try, you know? Did you try, and did you try to compete at the tournament? Did you try out on the level, you know, on the zone level and see it? Just competing on a zone team or just competing in a national championship, that's really neat. That's a really cool thing. And that within itself is its own accomplishment. So it's not about every step of the way. No one's asking, but just understand that it's an option, it's there for you, and you're gonna have to be able to respond, you're gonna have to respond to the question why you're not, if you are. And I'm happy to answer more questions at the end here about it, just because I do wear several hats. Here's an example of a resume that I thought was a little messy, right? So this is what I do when this came my way. This is a lot of words, right? There's a lot of words. And when I got to read 200 of these, right, in a week, it's difficult for me to get through. So you see what I did. I circled with a pencil. Who's this coach? Who am I going to call? Right? Who am I going to call to back up? Where's his phone number? Okay, how big is he? What year is he? I circled junior. He's a junior in high school. All right, now I know when I can call him back, when I can't call him back, right? I crossed out all these accomplishments I don't need to know, right? Oh, GPA, 4.033. Okay, that's good. Let me circle that. So I circled the 5 most important things, but this person probably spent 2, 3, 4 hours writing this long resume for the 5 things that I circled. So don't waste your time, right? Get the vital information out there and make it happen, okay? This is a little more simple, right? Straightforward, like we talked about. One headshot. Still, even then, I can't see who this person is, right? When there's water, there's a cap, right? Just give me your face. Give me the quick things. And this was kind of nice. Hey, at JOs, I'm going to be playing at this pool at these times. Come find me, right? Or even during the middle, it doesn't have to be JOs. It could be the middle of the year. Hey, my high school's playing in the quarterfinals of CIF next week. Why don't you come watch? This is the game time. This is where it's at, right? I'd really like for you to be there. We're playing this league game, this league conference game. Come tell me where it's at. and we'll be there. And by the way, I want you guys to make these resumes. But going back to what I said before, every coach on their website, every school on their website has a link to what's going to be called a prospective athlete student questionnaire, or a PSA questionnaire, recruiting questionnaire. 5 different names to say the same thing. You click on that questionnaire, they're going to ask you these exact same questions that I put in the slide. This slide, this one. They're going to ask you essentially those questions. So if you have those answers, the answers to those questions ready, all you have to do is put them in and online on the prospective student athlete questionnaire, recruiting questionnaire. The coach has it in their file and they're ready to go. All right. So this is why this is important. Not only are you going to put it on the website, but you're also going to create a little resume for yourself. This is part of your homework after you leave here, right? Is that you got to reach your schools and then you got to create a resume. Those are 2 big things you got to do on this, and we'll talk a little bit more about what else you got to do. You also got to do this. You got to do an NCAA clearinghouse, right? It's a pretty simple step, but everyone has to do it. Essentially, this is for the NCAA to understand that you've met the minimum requirements to be eligible to compete in NCAA. And what's happened recently, and I don't know how much you guys deal with this now, or you deal with this now. Now, you can't go on a recruiting official visit without your clearinghouse, right? So you can't go on your official visit. This started happening towards the end of my tenure. So now, if you didn't do this, I can't even invite you to an official visit. You can't be on my campus without the clearinghouse done, all right? And then I've had athletes who forget about this at all, and I did a bad job of following up as a coach, and then they show up to the first day of practice, and I can't let them practice the first day of practice when they show up on campus because this is not done. So you got to go online and finish this NCAA clearinghouse thing. I think, what's the cost for it now, guys? You know, $60?
I was gonna say 60, so probably 60.
60? 80. Inflation. I'm living like 10 years ago, right? So it's $60, all right? $80. $80 you gotta pay, you gotta get on there. But it's a simple thing. This is not the most convenient website. I'd rather just Google NCAA clearinghouse. It'll take you to the right place, right? And then you can get there and you can finish it out and you can finish. Part of this is at the end of it, even if you did the clearinghouse, let's say you're a sophomore in high school right now and you did the clearinghouse. Just because you did it your sophomore, it doesn't mean you're done. Right? For you to be absolutely clear by the clearinghouse to go to the NCAA, right? You got to send in your transcripts at the end of your senior year. They got to know that you graduated. They got to know that you finished all the coursework that you're talking about, and that you're done. So even if you register now, which everybody should, if you're going to be doing this, make sure that you follow up and you finish and you go through all the steps at the end of the process. So I said there was a homework assignments, and these are some of your to-dos as you walk away here. Right? If you want to take a picture or think about this, you can. Right? So I don't have to say every word. Right? But know that as you go through this, right? Every year, there's things that you need to be doing and things that you need to be taking advantage of. And it really starts your sophomore year. And it really starts before that. Freshman year, you don't want any F's, D's, C's on your transcripts, right? That early, right? Even though you can make up for it, right? As time goes on, we don't want to doom you your freshman year with bad grades, right? Lord knows I would be sitting here now if that was the case, right? But, right, make sure you're doing well in school, right? Your freshman year. Once you start getting out sophomore year, start thinking about this. Start doing your homework. Start getting out. Start finding these schools. Plan your visits, and use your summers and spring breaks effectively. Use those things effectively. And as a club, right? Because generally I'm talking to one club here, right? Essentially, right? I'm talking to the Redlands Renegades, right? So if I'm talking to you guys as one club, right? As club leaders and directors and coaches, can you start planning some tournaments or some things that are around some other colleges, right? You know, if you guys as a club haven't gone up to a Northern California tournament yet, I'd recommend go play just a random, there's not be anything special, right? So just go to a Northern California tournament so that while you're up there, you can visit Santa Clara, right? Stanford, right? San Jose State, right? All the different schools that are up there. Why not do that, right? Play in a tournament in San Diego at some point, and while you're down there, stay an extra day or go a day early, visit UC San Diego and visit the other schools. Like, why not do those things, right? I mean, that's what you guys can do as a club, together as a group, right? Since I'm talking to a collective group, you guys can do that. Maybe you can go to an institutional camp together, right? There's ways for you guys to integrate the college process into your club, like you're doing tonight, right? By having me here, but also bringing it into your competitions. That's a really effective way to get about this, right? I can't tell you how many college shorts have been given to teams. You get a lot of teams that come here, right? Where the whole high school team comes through, you know? Yeah. The team comes and visits as a group, right? Particularly for you guys probably from coming from California, right? Things like that. Hey, we're visiting the area, we're going to come see you. I just highly recommend it, right? It's different ways for you guys to do that. Plan accordingly, but just use your time. You don't want to wait. I get this a lot. People come to me and they say, Coach, this process is really stressful. This is really agonizing, right? Again, this doesn't have to be, right? It doesn't have to be agonizing. It doesn't have to be stressful. You give yourself a lot of options. You plan ahead, right? You're proactive about it, and you take advantage of all your opportunities. And it doesn't have to be. And the longer you wait in your high school career, then it gets more stressful. I was a high school teacher too, right? And Keith will tell you, he's laughing when I say this, because I taught U.S. government in California right here. The U.S. government is a senior class, right? And it's a senior requirement class, right? So They're second semester, I'm taking people second semester, senior year, in my US government class, who have to take this class to graduate, right? And you can't imagine the anxiety that's in that room, right? Second semester, senior year, of all seniors in this class, and half the room figured out their college stuff a long time ago, right? With feet up, Mr. Abdou, I just want to see, right? Just keep talking, keep doing what you're doing. I just want to see. I already got into college. They told me as long as I don't fail, I'm in, right? And then that's going to force that to start that attitude, right? And then you got other people who are like, every day, they can't focus on my class at all because all they're doing is waiting by their mailbox at home, right? Or waiting by their computers and looking at the phones and did I get the email or not, you know? You don't want to be that person, right? Not because that's a bad thing, right? It's just I just want you to be happy. I want you to be a comfortable, happy person in this process who enjoys this and is excited about going to college, right? So just understand that the earlier you get into this, the more time you put in it, the better as it goes on. So I'm happy to answer. I'm sure there's a lot of questions. Maybe Coach and Keith have some other things to add. But I wanted to leave a few minutes to answer questions and happy to be a resource for you guys as we keep going. Yes, ma'am.
How do water polo coaches feel about YouTube, video as opposed to just word, like resume?
Yeah.
I think that, I think it's pretty cool. And it's because it's so much better. I can tell you great stories of VHS tapes I got years and years ago, and I can tell you all sorts of stories about like our football coach tell the guy to send him some tape. You want to see tape on him, and the guy just sent a tape of his family barbecue, and he said, "I just thought you wanted to see tape." And so I think it's great, And people ask about should I send a full game or a clip? Highlights. I mean, highlights are dubious. It's not showing you to send something good, but I'm never going to watch a whole game. I'm never going to sit there and watch an entire game. So if you want to send a YouTube clip or something like that, I think that's great, and something that's short and I can watch and then move on. I think that's fine.
Yeah, I always have a follow-up. And one thing I always say is the YouTube research tells us, right, as the conference said this, that the average attention span on a YouTube video is a minute and 20 seconds, right? So Coach is right. If you put a 5-minute video up there, it can be really hard. Put a 3-minute video, just something that's quick and gets to the vitals. I can tell you, somebody sent me a VHS back in the day. It was a goalie who was standing in the shallow end, right? And he got scored on every time the ball was standing in the shallow end. And the video was terrible, right? But I ended up recruiting the kid. So what's more important than and he ended up becoming an All-American for me. He happened to be 6'8", right? And he had good grades and he'd come in. That was more important, right? Than the fact that he sent him a bad video. So I think that the vitals are important. Really, the references are important. The video is important, especially if you're for the place not far away. But he's right. He was spot on with that.
Yeah, just put a link, you could link on the bottom of the resume and make it real brief. Because it goes on and it's.
No music, no.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Get it done.
The other thing that I would say about that too, real quick, I got you. And the other thing I would say about that is this question always comes up, so I'll preemptively answer this. There are companies out there that will charge you, right, a significant amount of money to make your highlight reel for you, right? I highly, highly, highly discourage that because you're at a point in time right now. My man back there was videotaping, he was doing that on an iPad, right? iPad and iMovie is free, right? iPad and iMovie are free. Free is a lot better than paying a company to do this, right? I'm trying to help you guys save money on this stuff, right? I wouldn't go into these companies out there to make money from you. Also, in a water polo sense, and I'm not knocking basketball when I say this, right? But there are also recruiting companies like Be Recruited and like some of these other websites that help you and tell you, hey, I'm going to help you with your resume, I'm going to help you with all this. I just gave you all that right now for free, right? So I wouldn't pay my money for Be Recruited or any of the other stuff. And part of that is because we're small, right? We're a small sport. If I'm the basketball coach and I got to sift through 1,500 power forwards and then another 1,500 small forwards, another 1,500 screen guards, that's a nightmare. I need someone to tell me to do half the work for me before it lands on my desk. But the reality is, with only 40 some odd programs on the men's side, 60 some on the women's side, right? We're going to figure it out. 1 degree of separation in water polo. 1 degree of separation. So again, I try to say this just to help you guys save a little money. A lot of times I get someone to say, hey, I spent a lot of money on being recruited, and I didn't get recruited. It's common in water polo, It's common. You just do this,
I won't even look at when I get them because I get so many of them every day. I won't even look. I just don't even open them.
Yeah.
When it comes from those companies that I don't even open them.
Yeah.
It's a complete waste of money.
And I'm telling you that now, and I almost got in trouble with work for this because I think Be Recruited or one of these things, like as a sponsor of US Water Polo, they were like talking before me on one of these talks at JOs, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to listen to this this time, you know? And I got in a lot of trouble. But I'm just being real with you guys, you know? Again, if you get a good resume, you got good references, and you're doing good in school, and you're doing what you need to do, that phone call from the coach or something's gonna mean a lot more. Sorry to keep you waiting. Yeah. Absolutely. A ton. But I would say being a walk-on, right, is important. If the school is really important for you and you want to walk on to that school, then also make sure that you have some realistic expectations of what that school is. The program isn't going back to the kind of the three things I was saying about academics, athletics, and campus culture. If athletically you didn't get recruited, but you want to walk on, you got a chance to maybe just understand that there's the realistic side of this. You know, but I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen a lot. But I would walk on. It just depends on the school, right? But if I just wouldn't recommend if you're saying, hey, I want to walk on at a Pac-12 school or something like that, right? And you know that you're far from the athletic norm of what they're looking for, then I would do it. Where I've seen walk-ons make it is on more realistic places like Redlands, like Bucknell, right? Like places where there's a chance, right? And you have an opportunity, you're not getting buried on a roster, you're given an opportunity to play in practice. Does that make sense? Yeah. I can answer a few more questions as well. Yeah. No. I don't. Generally, goalies don't swim. Right? The story with Coach Newland, right? Coach Newland is my coach at UCI, right? He played at Occidental, right? What did Coach Newland always say? He played goalie on one end, took the ladder out of that end, walked to the other side of the pool, jumped back in and played goalie. You know, on the other side. And so I wouldn't, but I would add other things. Right? I would add other things. So I would ask your coaches, like some of the normal goalie tests, like that YouTube video, like Coach was talking about, things like that. You know what I would want to see from a goalie? I would want to see your lunges. Right? Why not get one of your coaches? Literally, do this on an iPhone, right? Like get your phone, give it to your friend, have a videotape you doing 10 high lunges, right? 10 taps to the bar, right? Just some different drills. Show them that you can egg beater up and hold it, right, in good form. Little simple things like that, right? And I put that on a 45-second highlight film, and then I know at least that goalie, right, he's got good grades, right? He's a tall guy, right? Oh, he can egg beater, right? On this video, I can see his skills. Okay, maybe I can talk to him a little more. Right? Does that make sense? Yeah. And there are simple goalie tests that we do, right? Like have people get a heavy ball on deck, videotape yourself doing that. I would do that as opposed to sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, why not? That's what we're saying. Yeah. I think all of us are saying why not. But you said short was the key word, right? Short to the point, but it can't just be, it's a vital things. Right? I know I can talk fast, right? But even just the things I was telling him as a goalie, right? If he did those 5 things, right, in a 45 seconds to 1 minute 20 video, that would be really valuable for me to get some context on him as a goalie. And then for you as an athlete, it would be these simple things. I don't want to see you just chucking the ball and shooting it, right? I want to see in a short amount of time, are you holding it properly? Do you have balance, right? You know, do you have proper throwing form? You know how to egg beater. Being able to egg beater and be balanced in the water, I can't tell you how important that is. I can't tell you how important it is for college coaches for you to be able to move in the water. So you can tell me that you swim at a really good swim in free time, but if you show me on video, or you show me at some point when I watch you play, that you can go over your hips from here to there in one movement, like in one movement, be balanced and go quickly over your hips and efficiently over your hips, it's invaluable. It's an invaluable skill. It's an invaluable tool. I can tell you that. I can teach somebody how to shoot. I can't teach somebody in a short amount of time to go from here to there in one movement, horizontally and effectively. I would also say that's the other reason why stats aren't important. Sorry, I could talk about this a long time, but I would say the other reason stats aren't important is because tactics in water polo are very simple. Any coach can teach you tactics. I've played against a coach who's got a lot of different tactics, right? He's got a lot of different plays, a lot of different motion offense. He loves doing that stuff. But I can tell you, he's probably getting athletes from all over the place, and he's got to teach them those tactics. And they learn them. And they can learn the tactics. But you can't not teach the fundamentals. There's nothing that I can do as a college coach in a short amount of time, in 4 years, to make you be able to run, right? Be able to swim, be able to hold the ball. There's just not enough time for you to develop your game if you're too far back fundamentally, right? But if you say, hey, I know how to run 4 or 5 pick better than anybody else, it doesn't help me so much. I can teach anybody a 4 or 5 pick, right? I can teach someone how to drive from the 2. Right? This isn't football where you're not a quarterback, you got 75 plays on your arm, right? And you got to learn every 75 plays, and you got to learn. Water polo, pretty much this is the tactics in water polo. Swim in a straight line as fast as you can to the other end, right? And if you don't swim in a straight line, right, then you're probably doing something wrong, right? You got to get there from point A to point B, and make sure that front line's all the way up to the middle line. That's water polo tactics in 2 minutes. Oh, and if you're overshooting, and if if you're being pressed and center's open, put the ball to center. Now we're done. That's more. Honestly, right? In a lot of ways. But can you swim? You know, can you hold the ball? Can you do it? Can you go over your heads? Can you shot block? Sorry.
What are the degrees the athletes typically get? Is there enough time to be an engineer? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yes. We have some of the most brilliant minds that play water polo. We have some unbelievable, academic achievements. And I think, but if those types of endeavors, wanting to be an engineer, the doctors, all those things, that require a lot of attention in undergrad, and make sure you're choosing a school and a coach and a program that's going to support you in those endeavors. And most of them will. Most of them will. But but I would make sure that you find a place that nurtures that more than some. I'm not trying to throw anybody in the bus, right? But there's places and schools that will do a very good job of that, and most of them. Yeah. Anything else?
I'll say
Coach
one
Keith,
thing,
please, yeah.
and then I'll let John finish up. But my very first meeting here at the staff meeting at the University of Arlington in our athletic department, I still remember what our basketball coach, you may know, Gary Smith, who was here for 35 years. And the very first meeting, Gary said, we're talking about recruiting, Gary said, no is the second best answer you can get. And I remember that to this day, and I think now I realize it kind of goes both ways. And I've had conversations with players and like, that coach is a jerk, that guy, I can't believe he was a jerk to me, he told me I couldn't play there, You know what? No is the second best answer you can get. It's better that you find that out now than you find that out later. So sometimes that's the best thing that you can find out. But what Gary was really talking about was when I'm recruiting somebody, no is the second best answer I can get. And so if you're not interested and you're talking to a coach, just say no. Say, hey, I'm no longer interested. Because you have more places to go, more places to talk to. You want to spend your time on that. And if you're not interested, the sooner I know that, then that's great. And that's part of it. That sometimes it's hard for kids. They don't want to tell you I'm not interested. But you know what? That's part of the job. We understand that. And so I encourage you to think about that, kind of go in both directions. One is you're working with the coach. If you're not interested, know that no is the second best answer we can get. And then we'll go on to somebody who is interested. And if the coach tells you no, or he's not interested, or she's not interested, that's good information you got. That's the second best piece of information that you can get from that coach, other than I really want you, because now you can focus on the people who do. And so I encourage you to just to think about that as you're going through the process. So,
Or even Texas.
yeah.
No, thank you guys. It really kind of, sorry, one more question I can answer.
I did have one more question. So you gave really good tips on communicating with coaches via email or what you should write in a script. What about when you're talking to a coach over the phone?
Yeah.
You happen to be talking to somebody over the phone. What are some general guidelines, like to be respectful of their time as well?
Yeah, look, that's really good. It's a very good question. I don't know if anyone's ever asked me that question in a lot of times, but I'm glad, right, Coach? This is a good one. Because I almost always started my conversations on the phone like this, was I would pick up the phone and I would say, hey, it's Coach Abdou from some blah, blah, blah. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I'd love to talk about this. Almost preference, what I would preference to talk is like, I really want this to be brief, that's my way of, when you're trying to get to the undertone of what I'm saying, is like, I don't want this to be a long conversation. I also don't want to carry the conversation, right? It's really difficult. Look, my dad would joke with me all the time when I was recruiting, say, so what are you doing Wednesday night? Well, I'm calling 16-year-old girls for the next 2 hours and when they come to school. That's an awkward thing for a coach to be doing, right? It's like, this is hard, it's difficult. This is not easy for us, right? For coaches. So I'd say good advice is help carry the conversation, right? So when they ask you a question, again, keep it brief. We don't want these conversations to last all night, but especially like maybe offer some answers to the questions. If the coach has to do the pitch the whole time on the phone, it's exhausting, right? It's exhausting for the coach, right? It's really tiring. So it's refreshing. It's refreshing for a coach, right? To be on the phone with an athlete that understands these things, that appreciates the brevity of the conversation, and appreciates what they're looking for, right? I would just communicate what's going on the phone. Hey, coach, we're taking the SAT next week. I got blah blah score the first time. I'm hoping to improve on it, right? Hey, we're playing, Redlands East Valley next week. This is how I think we're going to do, right? I'll let you know the score when the game. I appreciate that. What's going on in your campus? How did you guys do? Maybe ask. It's almost like courting, right? Every time I talk about this is a courting process, right? I want to know, So you can't just be the only one asking questions on a date, right? That is really bad, right? You know it's a bad date. How are you doing? You know, are you enjoying yourself? I'm fine. Well, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. You know, a conversation like that. So it's got to turn this into a dialogue. Ask inquisitive questions. Keep it brief. You know, but have a conversation. Just understand that that's. Is that helpful? You know, that makes sense. Okay. Just these are good questions. Anything else? This is school night, right? It's late. I understand that. Just understand this. One of the reasons why it is, and I put this slide back up just to kind of remind you guys of those things, right? In this process is how I open it up. I just want to open it up in the way that I closed it, and also know that I hope you guys play water polo for the rest of your lives. Period. I hope not only if you don't end up playing water polo for the rest of your life, that you're involved in water polo for the rest of your life. That you're coaching, you're refereeing, right? You're doing something in our sport because this is a small sport that needs every bit of human resources that we have, right? So I hope that no matter what path you guys choose, there is a college that wants you, there's a college that you guys can play at, but no matter what ends up happening, I hope you keep water polo in your path, and I appreciate you guys having me here. So thank you guys.